she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Political campaign marketing is not so extremely different in terms of what you need to know to be effective, to move minds in order to win votes. For political campaigns, it often comes down to just moving just a tiny segment of people on one side or another. And oftentimes, the people who are so-called independents, moving and persuading them to go one direction versus another. That's what I would describe as moving minds. But when you understand how to do effective digital persuasion, like what we're going to go over in this video, you won't just be moving minds, you're going to be moving markets. You're going to be moving your market and the people in your market towards you and towards your offer. If it sounds cool, awesome, that's because it is. But just make sure to use this responsibly, this knowledge, this information. And also keep in mind that this is premised on the whole foundational assumption that what you are selling, what you are driving people to decide in a positive way on your offer to give you a try to buy, it's all premised on the foundation that you are actually fulfilling on that offer. Because if you don't do that, you're going to pollute the market for yourself, for everyone. You must be delivering on your offer above all. So with that being said, let's examine two of the best ads as of the time of this video in the election 2024 campaign, Trump versus Harris. So my name is Matt Ack. I'm the founder and CEO of Grobo, as you may already know. And welcome to this episode of Grobo's massive podcast, MASS standing for Marketing AI Sales and How to Scale. We've been in business since 2010, started with just $200 in the bank and no outside investment. And today we are a multi-million-dollar business selling our flagship productized service offer, which empowers businesses to delegate unlimited marketing tasks to an all-in-one team without the headaches of hiring. But the journey has not been all sunshine and rainbows, and that's why I and our team make these videos, sharing our journey to become a multi-billion-dollar company. And we're bootstrapped, and chances are you're in the same boat. So let's work together to create massive growth while we build you a competitive moat. So the interesting thing about politics is that, typically most people who are voting, it often comes down to tribalism. Oh, I vote for the red candidate. Oh, I vote for the blue candidate, Republican, Democrat. And it's not that those choices are made unconsciously. I mean, a lot of times it's just people thinking differently in terms of, I'm a single issue voter and it's this policy that I want to see enacted, or it's just a philosophical thing. But as far as the people who are in the middle, or the people who are persuadable, they're persuadable for different reasons. Maybe because they want to themselves just make an objective effort to be rational, to make a thoughtful choice, and to not be tribal, which is admirable. Other times it can be the completely irrational, emotional decisions that can influence too, though, where a lot of the time and there's tons of research on this, we will decide emotionally and then reason backwards logically, rationalize, in other words. So the so-called independents on either side and in the center who are trying to be objective, or who are just open to being persuaded one way or another based on policy or just concrete differences. They say that, but a lot of times it is vibe. We are the vibe generation. That's what we're in. So, which is another way of saying a lot of it comes down to the subconscious ruling the conscious. What is this brand associated with? How does it make me feel? So you're going to see a lot of that at work in the ads that we're about to look at right now. So I've reviewed a wide variety of ads, both campaigns, because I generally stay pretty tuned into the news. I try not to overdo it because it's often very negative. But we're going to look at Kamala Harris's ad first, and then we're going to look at Trump's, and we're going to compare and contrast them in terms of what is working and what is not working in each of them. And I want you to just sort of for the purposes of helping you to be a better business owner, a better marketer, a better entrepreneur, but just try to take off the blue cape or even the red cape. Try to look at it through the lens of what is effective here that I can learn from that can be applied to your business, to your sales funnel, for example. So let's look at the Kamala Harris ad.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Okay, there's a bunch to unpack there, and let's go through each layer. So at a high level, we see Obama, who was a two-term president, meaning he was elected twice, and we see him essentially speaking at the Democratic National Convention, but he's speaking in favor of Kamala Harris, and he's using humor and subtle gestures.
Crowd sizes.
He's making a joke, right? And he's poking fun at Trump. It's also sort of a reference, if you're not familiar, like he was criticized in like 2016. So it's kind of a little bit of a callback. For me, I think it's funny because I know the whole context behind it. And whether you agree with it or not, Republican or Democrat, if you take off red or the blue hat for a second, you probably agree that, yeah, it's a joke and it's funny. And Obama is a persuasive politician, was elected twice. He ran an excellent branding campaign, hope and change, right? Still remember. And so it lands in that way. And that's part of the reason why I actually selected it, because it creates a positive emotion. You laugh out loud or you just smirk at it or like, okay, that's a little funny. So there is some emotion there versus the other contenders that I was looking at prior to selecting this one. There's really no emotion. There was kind of more factual, like more like appeals to authority. Like they had, for example, quotes from a former national defense secretary from Trump and a former general who I think was involved or in some way related to the one of his impeachment hearings that happened when he was president. And people may or may not know who those people are. But again, there was really no kind of like visceral emotion. Like at least for this, there was a real emotion. Plus, Obama, he's built a brand. He built a brand through his marketing machine when he ran twice as president, and because he's just a very skilled orator, where he comes across as smooth and charismatic. Whether you agree with him or not, I think that you should agree with that statement because I think it is objectively true. And it shows in terms of the results where he was able to persuade people to vote for him and win twice. What is going right with this ad is that it is mostly an exercise in brand association. It's linking Kamala Harris's brand with Obama's brand. Someone who generally remains popular and he's able to deliver lines like this, generally land in terms of like a little bit of humor. And he's able to kind of project his voice of change, we need a candidate of change. We'll get to that in a second. So the tone is light, humorous, smooth delivery by Obama, making it more engaging and kind of getting into the weaknesses with it though as well, because it's, on the one hand, it's appealing to the Democratic base, but on the other hand, those people were already aligned with probably voting for Kamala anyway. It's like they talk to their friend, like, oh, whether or not they saw this ad, they would probably be voting blue, voting for the Democratic candidate, whomever anyway. Versus again, like at this point in the campaign in the US, typically the pattern is run to win the nomination of your party. So you give lots of rhetoric and red meat to your base. I'm just saying like how it works, right? And then after the convention, after you accept the nomination from the party, then you kind of move to the center. And so you look more like a moderate, even if you're not, and you try to present yourself as someone who's capable of governing for the whole country, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. So don't really see this appealing too much to independents for that reason, but also some of the other weaknesses are that it's not that political ads should necessarily be always purely focused, if at all, on substance or policy. And again, like political ads are oftentimes just propaganda, be it positive, for the candidate or negative against the opponent or opponents. But again, like it just kind of lacks substance. And while the joke was humorous, I think that they kind of overplayed it because it represented about 2/3 of the entire ad itself. There's no real clear message or reason to vote for Kamala. So what politicians will often do is they will promise to give benefits to the people who vote for them. Like, I'm going to solve this problem, or we're going to pass this law, and there's going to be some tangible benefit. But you don't hear about any of that in this ad whatsoever. It's more like, okay, here's a joke. and vote for Kamala because we need, she's the candidate of change. Further, it's lacking a clear call to action. I mean, where's just the basic, it's just marketing 101. What do you want to get out of having this ad? Think about it. It's real simple, not your question. You want people to vote for you. So just at a minimum, say, vote for Kamala Harris, for example. And you might even want to throw in the date, by November 5th, by November 5th or on November 5th. So I don't think that it's overall effective at moving minds towards actually people voting for the candidate who is Kamala. So for everyone else who I'm speaking to who's more fair-minded and objective, or trying to be, you would probably agree that, again, there's just a lack of contrast of her with the guy that she literally replaced a matter of weeks ago in the race, who had the Democratic nomination basically in the bag, and that's Biden. She's also not creating like a strong enough contrast with Trump as well. But especially if the ad, this being one of the recent flagship ads, using Obama's brand, associating with her, and then calling her the candidate of change. We need change. How is she the candidate of change? Contrast would do that. There's no contrast being drawn. There's a real lack. Again, it's good because there's like an emotional, lighthearted tone to it. I think they actually kind of overdo the joke just a little bit. I'm not really sure if anyone really cares about the crowd size thing. I mean, it's kind of a meme at this point because Trump does bring it up very often whenever he speaks about why does he do it? Because it's social proof. So there is actually an argument for doing it. But yeah, I don't think this ad is really moving the needle, although it's one of the better ones that I found from her side. What really does move the needle is fear and identity, and aspiration would be below that. So like a bright future. With that being said, let's look at the next ad. This is called the Zen series of ads from Trump's campaign. These actually came out further back than I initially expected. I only saw these ads recently. They're a bit different. And when I initially saw this, it came up in when I was searching on YouTube. They're actually like 4 ads stitched together. So for the purposes of this, I think it's more effective just to kind of like layer them together and all in one kind of package. So we'll watch them all back to back, and we will then analyze if it's effective. What did you think? Just like first impression. It's kind of different, right? It's kind of not what you might expect. Talking about contrast, this creates a contrast with sort of the brand in certain ways that Donald Trump has set up for himself. Kind of confident, detractors would say bombastic, arrogant, loud. By contrast, this ad from a super PAC, what do we see? We see a Border Patrol SUV just rolling along the border. It looks kind of just clean and open. There's no people. It's just miles and miles. It looks like of border wall, and you hear just like kind of like a steady hum, along with the gravel rolling underneath the wheels as the car is moving forward. In a similar scene, you see in the next one a destroyer warship, and it's just cruising. I think you hear some sort of sound effect that is meant to, I don't know if it's a genuine sound effect, but it's meant to be the sound of this naval vessel, it looks fairly modern, just kind of cruising along the ocean waves, sort of just moving past it. Again, no one speaking, no voiceover. And what do you feel though? What do you kind of like feel in that moment? You don't see Trump's face. You don't hear his voice. You don't hear anyone's voice. There's no music, right? With the other one, there is more this energy, like bomb, bomb, bomb. And then Obama starts talking. This is very different. I actually picked this ad in part because it is so different. So I ask you again, like, what did you feel? Because I think what makes this ad particularly effective is what it is going to make a lot of people feel, especially people who see themselves as independents and who are persuadable, whether in the center, left, or right, one way or another. This ad, it's using a persuasion tactic that I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about, but I would call it labeling. It's where you just use words and it's exactly what it sounds like. You just put a label on something. So in very few words, what do they say with the first one? Border Zen. Border Zen. It kind of tells you or telegraphs in a way like how you should feel and how this scene that you're seeing should be framed. It's clean, it's efficient, it's peaceful, Zen, right? And then the call to action, vote Donald Trump. Next one, a return to peace through strength, vote Donald Trump. And then with the next one, okay, this one is a little more standing in contrast. Let's just actually hear that again. We don't see the faces of anyone. And that's kind of important too, because in storytelling, there are books written on this called, The Hero's Journey and The Story Wheel. And it always begins with you. So for example, story wheel, you, need, go, search, find, take, return, usually to a state of peace, for example, returning from the journey, having paid a heavy price, changed. But it always starts with you, meaning the main character or main characters, you are putting yourself in their place. There's something that you're able to connect with in them, because ultimately that's the power of story. That's why story is sometimes called another form of hypnosis. The way that we experience it in our minds is like we are transported, we are there, right? We are in the position of the main character. It is ingrained in us. So in a way, these two characters here, I think it could be more effective if it was focused more on the hands of the lady who's waiting to pay. Maybe she could look like a little bit more stressing to make it more effective. But the words and the kind of annoying sound of the boop, 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 and the words, again, labeling, telling you how you may already feel about it, but it's just kind of like a visceral sound. You don't really necessarily like it. It's a negative association, especially if you are a person who is concerned about money. Because this sound, you might already associate it with something that is making you feel some stress. Then labeling it the sound of inflation. Next line, courtesy of Kamala Harris. Okay. And again, I don't know if they actually put this one next to the others. I assume that they probably did. Or maybe they kind of play these however they play them individually. But it's real quick. It's subtle. It uses labeling. It's provoking a feeling. What makes it smart is it's hooking into, for the people, again, who see inflation and the economy as a big worry, and literally they might hear this when they're checking out, it's kind of hooking into almost like a brain association that's already in existence, and it's like funneling it through that filter, creating an association of inflation, Kamala Harris, bad, and you don't want that. In a similar way, in the next scene, we see a waitress coming over, cleaning off a table, and putting tips in her pocket. And this is getting back to what I was saying before about in contrast to the Harris ad, we see, why should you vote for this person? Trump won't tax tips, saying like, I'm going to give you this benefit if you vote for me. Vote Donald Trump, call to action below it. And with the last two series of ads, we see someone coming over to a table of, looks like friends and family. Summer's made affordable again. We just see the scene and we see people clapping. And again, it's like the sound of, it's how are we persuaded? Through emotion, through association, okay? So you feel something about this because this is people. We are social creatures. We want to be with people who we care about. And there's a sense of family as well. But then we see the clapping hands as the words just came on the screen there. Summer is made affordable again. Vote Donald Trump. So I won't say there's something musical about it, but there is something smart about how it is structured to happen in that order. Again, like you hear the sound of people clapping and kind of laughing and being happy. You see this as well. So again, the sounds and the visuals, it's subtle, right? You feel something. It's like a tactile thing, like especially with that opening ad with the naval destroyer in the ocean, the sound of the waves. It feels clean and efficient and quiet, calm. And the same with the SUV at the border and you hear the gravel, and it's slow, right? And it's open, and there's no disorder. And this is also effective because for the people who are on the fence, like one of the criticisms of Trump and his campaign has been that he was chaotic. It was so chaotic when he was the president the first time. I don't know if I want to vote for that again. And whether or not you agree with that, some people would argue, oh, that was created by the media and the opposition Democrats. And other people would say, oh, he was chaotic because it's his personality, dictator light. That I disagree with. I don't think this guy's going to be a dictator. I think that is too far. Yeah, so whichever side you come down on, this ad is targeting the people who may have that objection, like, oh, like the chaos. And this is kind of attacking that point by associating voting for Trump, the candidate, with actually something that is more understated, more peaceful, more specific benefit focused. And it's going and building on top of issues where lots of surveys have shown that he's stronger, like the economy and border security, for example. So in terms of like how could this ad be more effective? Where is it potentially a little bit weak? I think this is an incredibly strong ad, and I really encourage you to think about it because, again, it's persuading at a subconscious level, in my opinion. It's because it's so smooth. You hear the sound of the gravel, the tires rolling over. I think some of the angles with like that checkout, I think it could have been more associated with like maybe like you could kind of like see the person like tightening her hands, like kind of to convey like a little bit of stress or something like this. But overall, just very simple, very clear, and very much focused on persuading at the level of emotion and using labeling. At the same time, attacking a common objection, which is that Trump, the candidate, people considering him, voting for him or not, I'd say, oh, he's chaotic, right? So it's kind of trying to also at that level, I think, in the branding and the feeling of this commercial, associate decision to vote with Trump, trying to associate the decision to vote for Trump with something that's actually not chaotic. It feels different. It feels calmer and orderly and efficient. The other thing that I think could be better is actually just compressing all these together and actually running them back to back to back. Because again, when I saw this for the first time, I didn't realize that these were actually individual commercials, but it's like it's the effect of stacking them together where it's like you see one scene and then the next scene and the call to action and the contrast of courtesy of Kamala Harris versus vote Donald Trump, courtesy of Kamala Harris, vote Donald Trump, inflation bad, Kamala, lower taxes, no tax on tips, Trump. It's hard to find a lot of weaknesses with it because it is a superior ad in terms of persuasion to the one from Kamala. And because it is trying to help persuade and attack those points where Trump, the candidate, is seen as vulnerable or it's an objection, it's something about his personality, chaotic, for example. I'm trying to find more problems with it, but I'm genuinely just not seeing gaps in terms of where it could be better because it is a very powerful, I think it's a very effective ad. So to wrap up, what can you take from this that is useful for your business, for your message in terms of how you frame your offer, in terms of how you make your ads? Well, you want to think, obviously, about emotional messages, but emotional in the way that not just you're necessarily like loud, but emotional in the sense of like, what do you make people feel from seeing what you write or the visuals that you give or the video that you make people watch, right? And what ideas are you associating your brand with? So I think both ads did either a pretty good or a great job of doing that. And in Kamala's ad, for example, we saw humor. In Trump's ad, saw more calm. But kind of below the surface, this is the other reason I should mention why the ad is more effective, is that the issues that Trump has been pulled to be stronger on, like the economy and the border, part of the underlying reason there is that he's seen as tough on crime, tough on the border, pro whatever policy that's going to help get the economy going again. And people think this in part because, the economy was good under 4 years of him and less so under Biden, for example. But again, what is underneath those issues and those kind of positive visuals where he's helping you to think past the sale, right? Like, so what's it going to be like under a Trump administration? Is it just going to be crazy impeachment, all this chaos? Well, this ad helps you think past the sale in a positive, right? So it's somewhat aspirational. And on those issues in particular, there's also the fear level of persuasion that's happening because in terms of the economy right now, and in terms of, do people think the country's going in the right direction? In terms of, the border, people are concerned about those issues. So there's fear. associated with those issues in terms of things not going well. And if they continue to go bad, that's the fear. So that's what both ads did well. But in contrasting the ads, you can see that Kamala's ad relies heavily on brand association with Obama, but it lacks a clear call to action or any specific policies or policy focus, or in other words, like not even policy, but just like a reason to vote for her. We're told by Obama that she's the candidate of change. Okay, well, why? Like, what's in it for me? This is kind of like the fundamental sales question 101. If you're talking with a lead, with a customer, with a client, you always want to think about their point of view. What is in it for them? Why should they do business or continue doing business with you? It's simple, but it's very easy to overlook and just try to look at it through our own eyes rather than through the eyes and needs and preferences of our customers. Trump's ad, on the other hand, he's kind of just, or the super PAC, I should say, because I don't think it was his campaign necessarily that did this, although perhaps they coordinate. The ad is addressing prior criticisms by projecting calm and efficiency. It's appealing to undecideds in this way. It's, and they take Trump out of it, which also helps it to be persuasive, because like just people saying the name Trump or seeing his face, like it can just trigger people to think something bad, like chaos, for example. And by taking him out of it and helping people think past the sale, again, it's effective for that reason. And it quietly conveys an emotion and quietly creates a brand association that argues against that chaos branding, for example. So I hope this video was useful to you. And I would ask you in terms of takeaways and action steps, because this video isn't going to help you to actually grow your bottom line, which is what I want for you. Because when you do, I hope that you'll take action, of course, and then get the result, and then perhaps come back and we can do business together, or you can refer others to this channel or to our service. But what I want you to do is, again, think about what is one action step that you can take in terms of your funnel to apply what you've learned from this video. For example, part of what we saw was, again, the effectiveness of emotional messaging, how branding and association and creating an emotion which doesn't have to be loud in the way that you do it. It can be subtle. You saw that Obama, smooth, charismatic, subtle with the delivery of the joke, which is part of what makes it work. Or in the case of the Trump PAC, super PAC ad, which is, again, no voice, just kind of labeling, quiet, orderly, efficient, calm, the opposite of chaos. I hope this shows you how, again, you can use branding association and emotion this way to persuade, even in the most difficult of contexts, which is part of what politicians who are running for president, it's the most difficult sale for anyone to make. So it's fascinating to study it, because you just usually have to persuade. If you get to the top where you're mano a mano, one versus one, it's really just a matter of persuading a small percentage of people most of the time, and you win the presidency or not, based on how well you do at that. In terms of your market, whether you are in a blue ocean or a red ocean, meaning a new market or a much more competitive market, this can help you to form a competitive advantage, because if you can just communicate more clearly about what is the promise and how that promise is delivered in a way that builds trust, and associating your brand in a way that clearly communicates and empathizes and helps people also think past the sale, for example, you're going to just far outpace your competition in that way. But any digital persuasion technique, ensure that you're delivering on those promises fundamentally. If your product is bad, if it is not delivering on those promises, effective marketing without substance will eventually harm your brand. And I don't want you to do that, and I don't want you to pollute your marketing, because these techniques that we've observed, they can not just move minds, they can move the market to you. So let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Like, subscribe. It's a big compliment when you do any of that, but especially if you share it with others. This channel growing, it just helps to encourage me and the team to keep making videos like this. And if you would like to accelerate your growth as a business and put into practice some of the ideas that are in this video, because execution in terms of business and in terms of all of the work that you need to set up your funnel, your website, maintain all of that, your marketing materials, your lead magnet as you grow, it's a lot of work. And that's why our value proposition as a company and our flagship done for you productized service is delegate unlimited marketing tasks and projects without the headaches of hiring. A lot of our customers, clients have told us what bugs them is that they feel like they're just piecing it together, going from marketplace to marketplace and you're hiring freelance, and then a lot of people sometimes are flaky and it just doesn't work out. With Grobo.com, you don't have to deal with any of that. You get an all-in-one team, and if someone doesn't work out, we have multiple people with that skill set so that this ensures you get the right person on your Grobo team for your brand, and you can just delegate whatever you want. It's so easy. You can even delegate just by sending a voice note. So you get a project manager, designer, developer, copywriter, content writer, ads manager, strategist, and more. So check us out at grobo.com. That's GROWBO.com. And we have a $7 for 7-day trial, but we also just launched the option for you to sign up for free. So you can go sign up for free. You can see a whole preview of all the project templates that are in the project library. You can check out the actual app. You can start preparing your first projects that you want to delegate. And there's also this info product that is a $300 value. We used to charge $300 for it. It is called the Proven Sales Conversion Pack. There are 313 credible case studies that I found, A/B tests basically, and I condensed them and made them searchable into like this little search engine, and I've included videos with it. So these are very tactical videos. So if you got anything positive from this video, I think you'll get an immense amount of value from that, and it's free. So you can go access that when you sign up for your Grobo account at grobo.com. But check it out. That's just kind of a free bonus and incentive for you to sign up. So as always, until next time, keep Groboing and stay focused. I'll see you next time.